Good evening. Hello, and welcome to the grand finale of our two-day Open Out Symposium that featured noted education experts, psychiatrists, language pathologists, poets, and drama educators from across the country and beyond. I thank you all for being a part of this initiative by Joy of Drama to help our teacher-parent community to cope up with the changes that this ongoing pandemic has posed to our school education system and our children. I would also like to thank all the many teachers and parents who participated in the Open Out Symposium from across the country and made it such a success. So now, coming back to the grand finale, for our panel discussion this evening, we have three of the most respected school administrators and principals of our country coming from diverse regions and experiences to talk about the impending tectonic shift in our school education. The ongoing pandemic has changed the way we understand teaching, learning, and assessment. As much as it has highlighted the efforts of our tirelessly working teachers and school administrators to keep the schools running for more than a full academic year now and counting, there is a need to urgently take action. To discuss all of this and more, please welcome Geetha Jayachandran. She is the principal of Yuvabharathi Public School, Coimbatore. In a career spanning 20 years, she has held several positions. As the principal, Ms. Jayachandran has brought many changes in the curriculum of the school by fostering it with new approaches and inclusive practices. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, Vaishali. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. Then I would like to welcome Nandita Mishra. Ma'am, Nandita is the head of International Curriculum, KiiT, International School, Bhubneswar. She's joining us from Bhubneswar. Nandita Mishra has a wide experience of working with children from various cultures, languages, and regions across India. In her present role as the head of International Languages, International Curriculum, and IBDP coordinator and TOK teacher, she is now exploring the possibilities in a multicultural environment as a global teacher.
Hi, Vaishali.
Welcome, ma'am.
And Geetha. Thank you for calling me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, ma'am, for joining us for this session. Then we have Ma'am Divya Dwivedi. She's the principal of Unison World School, Dehradun. She's joining us from Dehradun. Ms. Divya Dwivedi has over 26 years of diverse experience in educational institutions and over 14 years experience in residential girls' schools. Her last assignment was at Mayo College Girls' School, Ajmer, as a vice principal. Welcome, Ma'am Divya.
Thank you, Vaishali. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Thank you.
It's an honor, ma'am, and all of you to have you with us today. We know the country is in a very grim situation at the moment with the pandemic on and not wanting to leave us anytime soon. But we can't sit back and relax because education has taken a big hit and all of us are aware of that. Today's discussion is intending to raise certain questions with regard to, do we need reforms now? Do we need immediate reforms? Can we do it ourselves? Or shall we wait for a higher authority to pass on the dictum? So what is it that we can do? What is it that is in our hands? And what is it that is not in our hands? That is something that we would like to explore today. Also, yesterday we had an amazing panel. We discussed about how drama in education pedagogy has increased the attendance of children in school, not by some percentage, but 100% of attendance has been recorded in schools who have used drama in education pedagogy. And I'm sure all teachers who have been teaching online now have trained themselves, have gone to workshops to learn techniques which are activity-based, which are drama-based. I know so many teachers who are joining us today who have taken training outside to equip themselves to become more camera friendly, more activity friendly, so that they increase the student engagement. So, ma'am, today's discussion is very, very important. Many teachers, students, and parents have joined us, and I hope I am able to pick all your brains properly today. So, beginning with a little note to all the attendees who are attending our session. Uh, we are going to have the panel discussion for the next 45 minutes. Please keep asking your questions as we talk. And if you have any comment to share, please do so on the live chat box. In the last 15 minutes, we're going to take some comments and some questions. Please keep them ready. Let's begin, ma'am. So we are not going to look at uh, any particular structure, like who's going to say when, but there are lots of questions that will come. We can digress if we want, but keeping it within this pandemic and what solutions can we bring or think of bringing on the table. So let's discuss the challenges first. All of you are coming in from different boards, from different kinds of schools. Ma'am Divya is from a residential school. The challenges are definitely different over there. Nandita ma'am is heading IB curriculum, huge, huge load, full of work. I mean, we know how much IB, how big the rigor is, how huge it is. And then Ma'am Jayachandran, she is heading a CBSE board school. I would like to put this question to first Ma'am Jayachandran. Geetha ma'am, if you could tell us what were the challenges that you faced as an administrator and as a team leader when the pandemic just hit, and maybe after that Nandita ma'am and Divya ma'am can take.
Yeah. The very first challenge was for the teachers because they've been used to a very conventional mode of teaching, and moving from a conventional mode to an online mode was the biggest challenge, I would suppose, because of which I think they were really stressed. Always this fear was there for them. In a classroom it's a totally different environment, and when the classes, as you said, goes to their living rooms and their bedrooms, there were people who are watching their classes. So that was also there, that also added to their stress. And next, the technology. Though we had technology in place, they weren't ready to embrace technology. Now they were left with no option other than to embrace technology. And from the school, particularly in my school, we got all the support required, so that was not a problem. With children, yeah, student engagement was a very big challenge. I think
Right.
Divya can add on to that.
No, definitely. The challenges were manifold if we look at the macro level. So, the entire nation, in fact, this pandemic situation brought out in the forefront the the diverse requirement that maybe we can put it like the nation had the haves and the have nots. So overnight switching, like Mr. Jayachandran was saying.
Okay, I think there was a power failure at ma'am's place a minute back. Why don't you respond to it, ma'am Nandita?
Um, when the pandemic for the first wave last year, when this whole thing started,
No. Am I
it was
audible?
Oh, yes,
She's back.
you're back.
yeah.
All right, please carry on, ma'am. Ma'am Nandita, please carry on.
Yeah, so when it started, to be honest, I think I did not because it was international curriculum, and as students are tech savvy, and we are also tech savvy. First, we've had to be, at least migrants to be tech savvy. We are the migrants of technology, and
Yes.
they are the ones, the natives. But because of that, I actually did not waste one day. I remember Because ours is partially a residential school and partially uh, um, day boarding school. So even before the children had reached their homes from wherever they were, they had to. We could transition to an online platform. Uh, that was not my issue at all at that point in time. It was later. I mean, we had there were other problems which I'll come to later, but and I think the biggest learning for us in this was that the students showed a lot more resolve, and I mean, in many ways, they really helped us when there would be glitches or when we would have difficulty, or um, there is a significant e-coursework component, online component of the assessments, uh, which if the student is there in the school, it becomes a lot easier in the IB curriculum to do that. But when we struggled with that, I mean, I was amazed at how helpful and how resourceful the kids could be. I mean, they were able to tell me, or in fact, all my colleagues. I'm probably the oldest of the group. The rest of them are much younger. But even then, they could tell us, what to do or which app to use, how to go about it. If you're getting stuck with something, how you could find an alternative, and things like that. So that really helped us at that point in time. So uh, at that time we were all patting each other on the back. See, we can battle this and we can handle it, and it's all right. And IB had obviously decided that exam they will go the non-examination route, and we knew the components that we have to work on for assessment for the students, which is greater weightage to our coursework and the
Yeah.
grades from the school. So that those things were easy at that time. But my real challenge was when when it continued, and when post summer we had to continue teaching like that. I think that became very difficult, and we had to really sort of try and unlearn, many of the things that we did,
Yes.
because especially with IB and the smaller, optional groups. So it's a very personalized kind of learning that happens, almost customized in certain for certain subjects, and and when you're looking at the children from the other side, it becomes after a while it becomes very difficult to sort of keep your focus on that one-on-one classroom vibe. That becomes difficult, and
Yeah.
no matter what techniques you use or something, it's a poor substitute. And the other part, of course, is the rigor also, and entails that we sort of stick to certain things we had to do, and to sort of work around it was difficult. But again, I would like to commend IB. They were very smart. Immediately they came up, not only for 1 year, for 2 years. In fact, they came up with tweaking the curriculum in a way that where you could sort of teach in a more interactive way, in a more focus more on research and analysis, and just supervision of some sort, rather than the rigorous content driven teaching. Whatever was there, even that they made a lot of changes. So there also they were very progressive. That really helped us. uh, so yes, but yeah, it's not been an easy ride. It's been very tough.
Yes, ma'am,
And it's
Divya,
still
we
continuing.
lost you for a bit.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Um, I think we'll just get her back in a moment. So,
I Are you able to hear
yes,
me? All
yes,
right.
yes,
So
we can
I
hear you.
was talking that how the society is so unequal in India, and that has surfaced in this pandemic. So majority of the children, there are 250 million students, they would not have those gadgets that were required. Of course, we all did that instant switch to the online learning. Little did we realize that there would be the dearth of gadgets at homes of people. Well, we do not belong, our school does not belong to that section. So we were more privileged. So our challenges were kind of different. But still, there were those requirements to reach, dedicated bandwidth to every classroom, and, gadgets to in the hands of every teacher, so as to be able to conduct those classes. Then there were those challenges of, initially, like Ma'am Jayachandran said, children were very active and they were very receptive to this kind of teaching and learning. But later on, being tech natives, they got the better of it, and the cameras were switched off. My challenges, it is a residential school, and in residential schools like ours, it is a holistic learning. So there is co-curricular activities, continuous co-curricular activities. There is emotional well-being of children. Our children are not used to staying at home that much. They're more, on their own. And homes were not the places for our children to be, and they were badly, badly missing school. Nonetheless, so we made up for all that. Our counselors would regularly counsel the children. There were counseling sessions that were taking place. Then there were all our music, all co-curricular activities, even sports. You will not believe, our sports teachers took to technology so well. They conducted some or the other kind of sporting activity during the schedule. Our school, being a residential one, has a detailed routine till late in the evening. So we would take care of that. Not just that, our activity teachers would, and our yoga teachers would include the parents, the family members, so to come in and join on the group, so as that they also benefit from it. Because physical well-being was a common challenge for everyone. No activity, everybody is cooped up in their households. Yeah, this little bit was there as people were working from their homes, and like Ma'am Jayachandran was saying, parents were watching. So that was there. But yeah, we found our ways to overcome that. We kind of included them only in the learning. We made them part of the learning. And, there is such a huge talent pool with parents that if we go on to exploit that, that becomes an advantage to us. So it was kind of, mind over matter. If you do not mind, it does not matter. So that's what we did. We turned the tide in our advantage. We took parents on our side. Of course, a little bit of observation here and there would add to our, delivery. And that said, the emotional well-being and the cyber security was a huge challenge, because up till now you had been saying that, okay, no gadgets, no gadgets, no gadgets, and all of a sudden you have brought gadgets to their hands, and you brought the school in the gadgets. So no gadgets, from no gadgets in school to school in gadgets. And now you've given them gadgets, and the children are glued on 24/7 to their gadgets. Now, what is happening behind it is, it was anybody's guess. With that, we had, last year itself, we had started with a workshop from Mr. Rakshit Tandon, and we had sensitized our children, because we had been planning that eventually, it is the way the world is going. It is going to be a paperless school, and we were planning for that, and we were preparing for that. So, how to ensure cyber security and cyber wellness in our amongst our children? So we had got this thing done, and he came up with some very bright concepts, like that of a cyber congress, wherein the children are, peers are taking care of the others and are guiding their peers. So that was one more thing. My biggest challenge came in as Ma'am Jayachandran said, with the academic integrity during examination. So, yeah, they are children, and you have given them gadgets, you have given them. There is this temptation. I mean, let's face it, we've all been there as children. And so, overcoming the temptation. So, be after the first units and the half yearlies, then for the finals, we said we are not going to take it anymore. So we tried everything. We went through proctored and invigilated examination. We took the software tools of exam.net and everything we tried. And fortunately, majority of our students came back to school. They wrote their final examination, a pen and paper examination. But those who did not come, there was no two kinds of, we did not have a disparity in delivery of the examination, because we wanted to have a similar yardstick to measure them all. We couldn't have given some children the benefit of sitting at home and writing their examination online, whereas compared with the others who would write it in pen and paper. So yeah, they had this advantage of getting promoted without writing the examination. But eventually a better sense prevails, and we are able to talk to children. So majority of our children agreed that it was in their best interest that they came to school and wrote the exam. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing your views. What I see is three major topics that are popping up from this conversation, this initial conversation. First is definitely including the parents in the entire system of education, including them, making them a part of learning. The second is definitely a technology, an inertia towards technology at first, and then somehow, getting to get our heads around it, trying to work it out, and then all of that kind of coming to not so a good end with the assessments, which are almost open book assessments. Having said that, there are two things that I would like all of you to comment on and share your views. First is including parents and using the arts, like you mentioned, co-curricular activities that worked beautifully online.
Yes.
Which increased the engagement of the children as well as the parents, I'm sure. If you could reflect your views on how effective extracurricular activities were during the online sessions, and do you see arts integration, as the new education policy has it, very clearly stated that arts needs to be integrated? How do you see activity drama coming in to rescue teachers and students out of this horrible situation that we are, which is distance learning? Any one of you can take this up, and please, if you could respond.
What I feel is now for the current situation, we need to start thinking out of the box, and mundane online teaching or just dissemination of content is just not going to help. The teachers need to become more innovative and creative and think ways and means of taking the content to the children, and especially in the schooling system, if art can be integrated in such a way where it becomes a way of teaching, I'm sure children will become more receptive to that, because what they are looking for is something different. See, for an IB curriculum, each board, we work differently. So if you could give an opportunity for the children to learn arts or make art a medium of instruction, use art there, then I think things will become really different. And in this smart age, a machine age, we have AI for everything. So what is lacking is a human touch, and that can come only through art form. I'm 100% sure about that. So there need to be a paradigm shift in the pedagogy, and it becomes our responsibility to equip our teachers. That is something which is lacking. The moment you talk about art, and definitely I would say art is sidelined, compared to the serious subjects. As to math and science is something very, very important for the children. I wouldn't say, because they have been brought up like that. The system is like that, where parents also, demand, marks in the serious subject. So art is always, it takes a kind of, it's sidelined. It's not, taken with that kind of seriousness. If we have to inculcate that humanistic, approach in the children, I think art should become the, way of, teaching, and that makes, the learning more interesting, and children will become more involved in the learning process itself. So the challenge here would be to, empower our teachers to take it in
Yes.
that, form. And we always have a dearth of art educators also. I do not know how it's in the north, but in south we do have a dearth for, art educators. In fact, with their help, probably the curriculum teachers, the core curriculum teachers can work together. So that is what I've been trying to do in my school. And CBSE has brought in a lot of manuals and documents, for teachers, so that they start integrating art into their curriculum. So that way speaking, at least when we have good art educators, we can pair them up with the teachers and ensure that they become more empowered to take it across to the children.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Yes.
Mr.
Yes, go on.
Jayachandran, you were saying about the art inclusion and the CBSE having brought in books. I would say, in India, especially in the southern part of India, wasn't it mandatory for every student to learn one or the other art form? So far, not just in southern part of India, as long as I can see, it is the northern part which is wanting in this. Art education has been very rampant in the entire nation, across the nation, be it Bengal or Maharashtra or wherever you may call it. One or the other art form has been, so you do not require a special educator to come and teach that art in your classroom. It is just that shift of paradigm, like you rightly put it, to happen. You have to just integrate that lesson in such an artistic manner so as that it ensures the involvement of the child. The entire learning system is shifting. Like the topic very rightly put it, there is a tectonic shift from instruction based learning to experience based learning. When you would have the child's attention with you, he would learn. Now, just let me just quote a very, very, very small example of, let's say, a craft teacher teaching how to prepare a cap or a hat, and at a mathematics teacher teaching maybe volume or area. So these two teachers can collaborate, and a cone or a cylinder or something, when the child has learnt it experientially, he or she would have learnt it forever. There is no chance that she would forget. Let's take the example of, let's say, the pottery teacher. In a pottery class, the teacher ensures the pottery is taking shape, and then there is, they'll stop at something, some point in time, and let it dry. So then there is this skill of hand and eye and patience. Then they glaze it, then they fire it. There's a lot of chemistry, so there is a need of collaboration between the two teachers to bring in that interest level of the child. Now that collaboration, we see, we are preparing the students for future. And if we are not practicing those skills ourselves, collaboration is a 21st century skill. If we are not collaborating, so what are we doing? Yesterday's conversation, in the webinar yesterday, somebody was talking, I think Dr. Ghosh was talking about the agency. So we are the agents of change. We should have that agency. We ought to have that agency. We are those harbingers of change. We are going to bring about that change. So that change needs to first come about in our mind. We need to have that tectonic shift first in our mind. And then we'll be able to bring it about in the classroom and in the minds of our children. So that is what we are looking at. And yeah, the national education policy has given a lot of importance to art education. Come to think of it, when we were at school, humanities were not even offered as a curriculum. So you forget about fine arts. That would be, sometime in your bachelor's or your master's that you can look at fine arts. But now there is much more importance that has been given to both arts and humanities. Your thinking faculties are enhancing. So we are here to, make those changes happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right that the shift has happened in our minds. All three of us, four of us sitting over here understand this, and we recognize and acknowledge the need for the shift to happen. I would like to bring in Nandita ma'am here because she has been working with the IB curriculum, and our NEP, which has come in, follows or shadows the IB to quite an extent. Especially when we are talking about arts integration and not just art education. So, Nandita ma'am, if you could come in with your observations of how arts integrated, where drama is integrated into chemistry, or music is integrated into mathematics, how that has shaped a child on the basis of life skills. Because today everything is open. It's an open case in front of us, where our children are being challenged, and this is real life challenge. So how has arts integration helped there, ma'am?
This is, to me, this is closest to my heart. What this discussion is closest to my heart in several ways. Um, uh, the difference, I mean, the only thing I would like to sort of stress on is that there should art education that we're talking about, like, in the past, in certain parts of India, probably most parts of India, everybody learned something or the other. We need to recognize that that was a personal choice that households or
Yes.
cultures or societies made. It was never embedded into the curriculum. So
Yes.
that is where the dichotomy comes from, because as students we have not been taught that way, and I am always trying to teach my students in the way that I felt, that was taught to me, which was most effective, and that is where we struggle with it. But like you said, it's very, very doable, and it can be done, and some amazing things have happened, both pre post during the pandemic, when it comes to integrating art in the curriculum. And it has, I mean, what is most heartening for me is that it has also percolated down to the CBSE section of the school, because my school is mainly a CBSE school, and
Yes.
we have a small international student body. But it has gone down. I'll give you little examples which we did. Uh, um, like, for example, I did, when demonetization happened, I was teaching Julius Caesar to the kids, and that famous speech that everybody needs to know. So I tweaked that speech, and I put it, sing in the assembly, where I made Modi, as Modi is an honorable man, demonetization has done to me. And my children understood economics, they understood demonetization, they understood Mark Antony's speech, and they understood why Shakespeare is relevant. And from then on, it's always, the moment we talk about anything from Shakespeare, they'll always say, "Ma'am, demonetization, you remember we did with Julius
Right.
Caesar
Yeah.
something 400 years ago, and we could do it now." Uh,
Yeah.
uh, and why where IB scores over other curriculums? It is consciously embedded into the curriculum. The
Yeah.
CAS, and it is also not necessarily embedding doesn't necessarily mean that you need to grade it or give them points or whatever for it. I think if you shift that and yet make it part of it, it works well. I remember for chemistry, I think there's something chemical bonds and whatever. Children struggle with that chapter. So the chemistry teacher told me, "Ma'am, I want to do this, but I want children to get over their fear." So again, I did, I made, the different characters, I made them into different groups of gases and whatever else. And they did those chemical bondings and, moving away and this and that. And it was a hilarious, I mean, kids loved it. They understood it. They will still tell me, "Ma'am, noble gas, we can't come, we can't mix with this, we are depleting this, that, and whatever else." I mean, I'm not great at chemistry myself. I think it's my weakest subject, but I remember this because it allows me, a CAS activity is not graded, but the children are supposed to do CAS in order, if they do not do their CAS in the way that they're supposed to do it,
Yeah.
they do not get their diploma, even though they don't get any marks for it per se. And the planning part of it, right from planning to execution, the entire thing is child driven. The students write it. So they
Yes.
decide whether we are going to do a play, whether we are going to do a e-magazine, whether we are going to shoot a film, or we are going to work in a village, or we are going to, help farmers in the market and help them, sell their stuff or whatever else. Right from planning to execution, and most important, I think, reflection. This is something no curriculum
Yes.
addresses other than that. I think reflection is a very, very important part, because when you reflect, and you should also allow scope for error. If I do a project, I must be able to, I must be given marks for my error analysis. That, this is where I went wrong, but I'm aware of it. I could have done this differently. Then, it will work. This is something, and these flawless answers or flawless solutions, whether it's maths, chemistry, physics, or any of the other subjects. I think this is what we need to shift from, and we should probably be looking at, you know, for me to understand where I'm going wrong at the end of a task that I'm doing, and to be able to reflect that, yes, I could have done this differently, or I could have, taken a larger sample, or I could have
Mm.
done a better survey, or my questionnaire quality could have been better, and so on and so forth. I think there's more learning there than just doing the project per se, where you're, cutting and pasting and whatever else. So
Yes.
that is where we need to, we can bring in drama, or I think a very, very simple way of doing it, with, whatever, because you have to have formally trained teachers, otherwise parents are not convinced, and so on and so forth in national curriculums. I can understand that, but a simple way of doing it and getting started would be incorporating storytelling into the curriculum.
Yes.
That's one of the best ways. And somehow there has been a boom of storytellers. They are willing to
Yes.
train teachers in schools, and you don't require much in terms of resources to be able to, use storytelling as a tool. And then you can build from there. Start small, but get started. And make
Yeah.
that part of, if I realize the value of a story, only then will I be convincing as a teacher to my students that yes, this is something that is, you know, meaningful for the child. He's not wasting his time listening to a story. This is what parents, अरे क्या आप तो story बोल रहे हो, वो तो ऐसे देख लेगा.
Mm.
कहाँ देखता है? He doesn't see. Children don't listen to stories. We've forgotten how to tell them stories ourselves. So
True.
where will they, neither do they read nor do they. So then bring that in and make it more interesting, and start small. uh, Make it, part of schools internally could probably have teachers do a little bit of a training in storytelling, and you could, build on that. And interdisciplinary learning, like Ma'am Divya mentioned, that's a wonderful tool to use for storytelling and this. So it works in many ways, and allow the initiative with the children. They will surprise you with what they can come
Yes.
up with. We have to accept that they are probably better equipped than us, and they are more innovative than us. They
Yes.
are more creative than us. So listen to them, learn to sort of moderate a discussion and keep it meaningful. Shift the focus from yourself to the students.
Yes.
Small things, it takes a while to do, but it is doable. It is not that you
Yes.
cannot do it. And yeah, you could probably take it from there. And I'm
Yeah.
extremely happy that national curriculums are looking at these things. The only thing I don't want them to fall into the trap is that one, too much of paperwork, like you mentioned. That's the first deterrent. uh, and second thing, I think too much of don't make it standardized and assessment driven. 3 plays, 2 dramas, one skit, 5 poems. No, let it
Yeah.
be organic, let it develop, and make it local to the curriculum, to the demography of the school, the kind of students, parents, whatever resources you want to use, go ahead and use it.
Yeah.
You'll come up with wonderful things.
Yes.
Ma'am, Geetha ma'am, you wanted to say something, did
No, no,
you?
no, it's fine. No, no, you carry on.
All right. So thank you, Nandita ma'am, for bringing that to notice. Storytelling is definitely something that we have seen, boom right in front of us in the last 2, 3 years, and especially now. When you talk about Shakespeare and bringing demonetization together, or chemistry bonds and children coming together physically, so there's a kind of aesthetic learning that is happening, and somewhere in our space that we are in, the education space and the curriculum driven space or the syllabus following space, very little work or little opportunity is given to a teacher to try and experiment. I just want to float this idea. I don't know how this will work, but I would like your response to this idea that um, we have seen we do a little storytelling workshop with somebody. They come and they do, and there's no follow up. There's somebody who comes, does a theater workshop, there's no follow up. There is somebody who comes and does a music session, there's no follow up. Do you see a need of creating a structured teacher education cell or a lab in your schools, where research and development, which is context based, which is contextual in nature, just like Nandita ma'am said, very localized, context driven, for your students only, because we teachers, we know our students the best. Nobody knows our students better than us. So can a lab where school teachers are working along with other
Specialist.
mentors from outside and following a structured course of educating themselves in an ongoing process, because this kind of nep that's come in, this demands an ongoing education based learning for teachers, and not just training based. In yesterday's session, Carmen mentioned that we have to move
Yes.
from the word training to education. Do
Yes.
you feel this need? And if there is a need, how can we solve it? How can we reach it? And what are the challenges that you foresee?
To whom is this
Um,
question?
this is anybody. I mean, I think Geetha ma'am, you can start.
Okay, I'll take it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you said, definitely these independent storytelling session and theater sessions are not going to help us when we are talking about integrating art into the various subjects. See, for teachers mainly, the coverage of content is very important. I'm just generalizing it, okay? So
Yeah.
coverage of content becomes very, so they do not want to move away from that. Where but there is all possibility of making it more interesting and more student centric when you start integrating art into the curriculum, which is actually that skill set is lacking in our teachers. In fact, I wanted to say that bringing about all these changes in any way, I think it's high time they start changing the teacher education curriculum also, where they bring in this kind of skill set in the teachers, right? So, as you said, a group which can work continuously with the teachers, enabling them, empowering them, upskilling them. It's not that they do not have. See, there is an artist in each one of us.
Yes.
Probably
Yes.
we need to take time to bring it out, experiment it. That's very important. And when somebody who can collaboratively work, that is what I said, Divya, in the beginning. Art as seen as a separate subject, but I mean, not much of efforts was taken to integrate it into the curriculum. So once you start
Yes.
integrating it, and Nandita was giving a lot of examples, Divya was also giving a lot of examples, we see a change in the children. The way children receive things are completely different, and
Yes.
given a choice to them, you see they come up with wonderful ideas. In fact, I tried my art teacher. I tried storyboard in history. The way it came out, he was into a surprise. The way children pick up things, only thing is that they have to be given an opportunity to explore all these things, and teacher
Yes.
would be the best person. And it is our responsibilities as heads of institution to give them, to empower our teachers by setting up some kind, as you said, a lab, or people with such skills who can work collaboratively in the long run, a research into it to see how well it works. And after a point of time, they start believing, they all start working with a lot of conviction, and that
Yes.
is what we are all looking forward to, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Building trust within the teacher is very important. And I think if
Yes.
I'm very thankful to Geetha ma'am for supporting this idea. I would like to listen to your responses, Divya ma'am and Nandita ma'am.
See, the government is, as it is, prioritizing teachers as a focused group to improve their standing in the society. So, as it is, like ma'am was saying, teachers are challenged by content delivery. So, instead of them being limited by content delivery, they should start, like ma'am rightly put it, by believing in themselves. Now, if they came around with conviction, they would have won half the battle as it is. Now, the other half is coming from the national education policy, which has turned around and corrected the fallacies in the system, and it is trying to correct now onwards. So I am getting to see a very bright future for learning in the Indian realm, if I may say so. It's where the students will be more engaged, where all of us will have that kind of appreciation for not just only our subject, but also art. And then the learning is going to be more complete and holistic, as it should be. So, this is giving us that kind of power or that kind of agency that teachers should have. And yeah, for that, there should be continuous learning, there should be continuous teacher education that requires maybe not a brick and mortar space, but yeah, a space in our minds and our hearts, because schools will always have some teacher resource center where we can, take that training from. So, a four walls is not what is required. A lab in the mind, a space in the mind is what is required. I would
Or
put it like that.
online. Or online. We are all
Why
online
not?
now.
Why
On the
not? Why
web.
Definitely.
not?
I think it's even better.
A lab in
See,
the web. Yeah.
in
Yes,
Yeah,
in
why not?
fact,
absolutely.
as I said, there
Yes,
is
ma'am.
an
Yes,
artist
Geetha
in
ma'am.
everybody. And when we start, it's not that it's going to be a very long time support. Once you start, teaching them of how to look into the art component in everything, after a point of time, I am very sure they will pick up. Then probably we
Appreciation.
will be learning. Yeah, we will be learning from them. It is
Yeah.
just a start
Absolutely. I
somewhere to
mean,
look at things
So
differently.
if we
And when
if
they
we
start,
look at it, when it came as a challenge to the teachers, the children being tech natives did not hesitate in teaching their teachers, so the teachers were
absolutely.
learning from their students.
true.
So once that appreciation comes in, you do not know what kind of creativity will come out of our children, what
True.
potential they carry. So, yeah, I'm
True.
sorry I interrupted, Ma'am Nandita.
No,
Yes,
no, no.
Nandita ma'am.
It's absolutely fine. I mean, I just wanted to add to what you all were saying. In IB, we also have a component. Like I said, every subject we have an IA, or it's more of an internal investigation of a certain area that children do. And we also have extended essay that they write on a particular subject. You will be surprised at every year I only read that IA, what is that IA question or the research question that they have set, and I look at subjects that I'm a complete no with, for maths and all, because I find them more interesting, because others I can anticipate, English what they would say, or in history what they would say. But they come up with things like, I mean, I had one student, so he used to learn how to play the flute. So he
Mm-hmm.
was, he did it in physics, and he had done, I think, the different thickness and the different kinds of bamboo that is used for a flute, and the frequency and the vibration and something.
Wow.
I mean, the question itself is so. I mean, the kid has thought about it so much and so differently, that, I'm sure whatever analysis he does, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be new, it's going to be innovative. And to add to what you all said, like whether it's storytelling, or doing a little play, or whatever else that you do to integrate art in the curriculum, for the formative assessments, instead of making art as what you call co-curricular, extracurricular, I don't know, I get confused with those terms, but whatever, instead of keeping it, giving it, putting it aside in one corner as less important, as we
Yeah.
always
Or
tend to do
extra.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, you could integrate those things in the formative assessments or the smaller tests that they do, and a small component of the formative assessment could be these things that they are doing, and they can be graded for it. And it could be peer grading also. I mean, and you let the children decide criteria, let them also be involved in that assessment process, so that they will also value what they are doing. Be a
Exactly.
moderator there, and let me do it. There will be, this word tectonic changes in the way that you will think about teaching. I mean, why are we not able to do it? Because we have been taught in that manner. We have
Yes.
always been taught content. We have not been taught anything else. So
True.
we
Yes.
think a good teacher should know his books inside out, should, whatever else, should be able to quote verbatim from this source or that source. Only then they are good. Otherwise, they don't know anything. When I joined this school initially, when I came, I mean, I was working in other schools elsewhere. But I used to hear rumors about myself. Acha, ma'am, she's very talented and all. She does plays and all, but उनको पढ़ाई से कोई मतलब नहीं है. And now I teach TOK. I mean, I kind of look at all the areas, and I look, try and integrate children's thoughts on their different subjects and real life. And I've been doing
Mm.
it for the past 9 years now.
Can
But
we?
that's how people look at you. They think that you're doing
Yes.
something that
Yes.
has that's only entertainment. That's about it. A few good laughs or this and that. They just do not appreciate, and that is our fraternity. I'm not talking about parents. I'm not talking about
Yes.
students.
Mm.
Co-teachers, our own teaching fraternity does not give it that kind. They do not understand how significant it is to do these things. And like, I
Yes.
was never drama teacher. I did it because I felt it added to what I do, and that has landed me in international curriculum. So be it. I don't give a damn.
With your permission, ma'am, can we extend this session by 10 minutes? Because there are lots of questions and comments that are coming in.
Yes.
Can we extend it by 10 minutes, please? I
Yeah.
think
Sure.
all our viewers would be very, very happy for an extension. I would like to bring in Shalini Pattabhiraman's comment over here. She is saying that teacher education needs a revamp as much as the outlook on what education needs to achieve. This is a very important point that she's made over here. Shalini is a teacher of English. She teaches in a school in Scotland to secondary students. But she has been a drama in education teacher for a very, very long time. So, what are we looking at when we are thinking education right now? Where is education heading? Ma'am Geetha, if you would like to take that first.
I think now education, it's just not dissemination of the content or, getting them exam ready. I think it would be getting them, ready for a life. And now
Yes,
after seeing this pandemic, I think we have to build resilience in our children. It's all about the skill set which we, require. And education should move towards a competency based education rather than content based education.
right.
Yeah.
Divya, ma'am.
I think one thing we've realized
Oh,
now
yeah,
with the
sure.
cancellation of examination, I'm so sorry, with the cancellation of examinations across the board, that
Yeah.
you can do away with them and the world will not fall apart. I hope
True.
we take us learning. That doesn't mean that we take away from what is important and what children need to learn, but there are ways of being assessed, and I hope we don't finish this. We go. My only prayer is we don't go back to the good old days, post pandemic, whenever that happens. And we have to think of schooling as not just textbooks, but a certain set of skills that children need to acquire. They need to pick up, they need to develop academic honesty, for example. This should not be limited to being honest during exams here. Being academic honesty for life in
For
whatever
life.
you do. In whatever
Yes.
you do, any research, any paper, anything that you write, anything that you claim to create, please acknowledge, learn the value of citing, giving credit to where you
It
have.
it
Yeah.
also
Yeah,
needs to
so
build a strong value system in the children. Education is
absolutely,
all
Yes.
about that.
absolutely,
Divya
I
was
agree.
talking about conducting examinations where at one point of time we really gave up. There is no point in conducting it. And if our education system cannot bring in that kind of integrity, then what is
Yes.
the point in doing all these things? I don't find it meaningful at all. Just getting them ready for marks or to top the NEET and the JEE, it doesn't make any sense. The real human being
Absolutely.
inside is totally lost in the run for the marks or getting into these top colleges. It's kind of
Yeah.
become a rat race. There is no joy in learning. The moment you
Exactly
have
my
that,
words.
you show them the joy of learning.
Yes.
Divya and Nathan, I mean, assessment would not be a problem at all. I would love to
Yeah.
know where I stand with regard to my, knowledge. So
Yeah.
somewhere we have failed to instill that joy, and the name there is the joy of drama. If we could, bring the joy in learning, I think our whole purpose is, we have reached the,
Yes.
objective of education itself.
Exactly. So
In
that's what I
fact,
was
yes.
saying. Ma'am resonated my words when she said joy of learning. So love for teaching is also there, and there's more than just content delivery, like you rightly put it. Like Ma'am Nandita, when she empathizes with the student, when the teacher becomes a listener, your battles are won. You've taken the child towards your side. The child will ensure that he or she pays attention in your class. So I would urge all our entire fraternity to bring about that tectonic shift in their mindset. They are the people who can bring that willingness in the child to learn, and bring about that change in learning wherein there is joy for learning. If there is joy
Let,
for them in delivering the content or whatever it is, so content will not be a challenge any longer. Yeah.
right, right, ma'am Divya. Sindhu has just said a big thank you to all of us, all of you, for doing what you're doing. It's amazing what you're doing. But let's imagine a scenario where the tectonic shift in the mind has happened. All right. So whether shift has happened in our minds, let's imagine a scenario where all the teachers have understood the importance. I'm sure there are many teachers who are watching here, and those who are watching here can definitely take this conversation. This will be available on YouTube in 5 minutes from now. You can show this to your colleagues and make them listen to what the heads are talking about. But once the shift has happened, what is the first step as a school head that you're going to take into bringing in the joy of the arts into the pedagogy of learning? What is the first step that you would take as a school head? If you can just think about that a little
I
bit.
would I would give more autonomy to my teachers, more space, time, and ensure that they are supported by all means to make it happen in the classrooms.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Divya,
Yeah,
ma'am.
See,
Oh, sorry, I keep
art,
going there. Sorry.
no, that's all right. That's all right.
we're
You're
also
fine. Yeah,
messages, preachers, teachers are preachers. So good. What I was saying was, um, I forgot. Ma'am Nandita, please carry on.
yeah. Okay. No, I would completely agree with Geetha on this. I mean, teachers, we need to believe in our teachers and we need to respect their competence, and they need space. No two people are alike. They work differently. And like I said, allow that customization to happen. Uh, give The only other area that I feel worried post pandemic is the other skills of the students. I mean, the social skills. Children come to school. One of the major reasons of school education, coming to school, one of the major things that the child learns is social skills. And that's something that you learn where you go out into the world, so you need those skills also in place. uh, Forget the graduating students that at least I've been focusing on. What about the little ones? How are we going? We need to think. I mean, keeping the joy alive and bringing a child back to school whenever that happens. I think that's going to be a huge, huge challenge.
For
Um,
all of us, true.
for residential schools, again, I mean, I'm sure Divya will also agree with me. We have our own set of problems. uh, Children come from homes. Many a times in a boarding school you have a child who is in the boarding school because the environment at home is not conducive. I mean, I've had students who didn't want to go when they had to go, and I mean, we had a very difficult time getting the students back to the online platform because it wasn't for us. It was just that they didn't like being at home, like she said. And it's not just that they were forced to go back home, but they have serious problems in their houses, between the parents, between whatever else. I mean, the list is endless. And are we, I mean, are we giving it any thought? How do we, do things differently for a kid who is, say, 6 years old or 5 years old or 3 years old, and for 2 years stayed at home, gotten used to this, and suddenly you say, morning 7:30 you board your bus and you go, or 6 o'clock you board your bus and you go. How
Yeah.
how do you make this school a more welcoming place for the kid? Post that, I mean, apart from making changes in the curriculum, their health, their social health, their self
Emotional.
management skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Staying at home, we feel lazy to change. If I have to come on a show like this, I feel lazy to go and change myself. I'm being very honest with you. What about kids now? Those
Right.
little things that they do, it becomes part of your personality. It's a part of your growth process. It might seem very mundane and routine, but these are some things that have been lost along the way. So somewhere we need to sort of collaborate with parents and talk to them, and find ways and means to sort of stay connected and somehow help children to not lose these skills, because later on, that's going to be critical, because the collaboration is all about good social skills also,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
integrity. So these are the two things that I think schools need to be looking at in a big way post pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, Divya.
So I was saying again, these social skills, the emotional skills, they are the necessary things that we need to focus on. We have come to understand more during this pandemic that about the interconnectedness of the world, and what we need to teach to our children, or bring home rather, not teach. We cannot be teaching everything. We have to exemplify this and bring home to our children that it is such a hyper connected world. And I know, you would have heard this story about the anthropologist having gone in an African village. He was experimenting about thing he was experimenting, and he said he kept a basket of fruits in front of a line, and he said whoever reaches there first in front of some
They
children,
all came
whoever
together. Yeah.
yes. So this is called the Ubuntu story, and they
Ubuntu.
all held hands. Yes, and they all held hands, and they all reached there together, saying that how can I be happy if any one of us is sad? So in today's time and age, we need more brains collaborating together, because one person cannot bring in that utopia. Everyone
Right.
will have to have that. Again, I keep on coming back to that tectonic shift of mind that is required. So when all of us are together, when we've learned to empathize with one another, had we had this kind of empathy towards others, this race for buying oxygen cylinders and keeping them in our backyards would not have happened.
Right.
Hoarding of medicines, critical medicines, well, booking of hospital beds. What are you doing? Are you inviting the ailment to you by hoarding medicines and by booking beds in the hospital? It's not a holiday resort. So, this kind of mindset, this is the kind of values that we need to impart to our children. And that is what is going to make the difference in tomorrow's world. We, being the teachers, will have to first bring that change in our mind, and then we'll make it happen. Yeah.
So the word is set now. Please bring that tectonic shift in your minds. I think most of us who are watching this program today are already on that shift. They're shifting as we talk, and hopefully many of you have already shifted. So I have read this in many books by many educationists and many great minds, that you teach what you are. And I really believe that. So a confident teacher, a teacher who believes in herself, only can produce students or make students who believe in themselves. And I think it's high time that we as teachers come together and respect and find that respect for ourselves, especially after the pandemic, because a lot has been said, a lot has been done, which has not been in favor of teachers, not been in favor of schools. So I think we need to bring back that glory that teaching it entails. Thank you so much, all of you, all three of you, and everybody who has been there with us throughout. This has been a great discussion, and we're going to have more discussions like this. This is just, the first open out. We had to conduct this online because last year after Kochi, we thought that we will do it in many other cities with different schools. But now that the online has opened up, we are looking forward to do more open outs in collaboration with schools, with institutes, to bring great minds like yourselves who think alike, to build a team and talk for ourselves, our minds. Thank you so much. Have a blessed night. Thank you, everybody,
Thank you,
for coming
Vaishali.
in.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Vaishali. Thank you, ma'am
Thank you
Nandita.
very much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am
Thank
Geetha.
you
Bye
all.
bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.